Woo! The Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star, here for, well, I told you there'd be a good amount of content coming out over the next few days. So here's another one for you, and this is getting released actually on a Thursday of all things, on February 23rd, 12,017 HE. Woo, love that. And, you know, with this one, well, this is going to be something kind of special. So I got a question pretty much asking me like what exactly my fitness routine, looks like and all of this. Now, I've actually covered some of this before on a much older Patreon episode, maybe one of the first few, where I had my dear friend Brett Venat on, and we both talked about it because, you know, we're both into this sort of thing. And so we covered it, and I talked quite a bit with Brett about everything, and he had some great tips in all of that. So you can find the Patreon episode with him on. Well, he's been on a couple times, but anyway. So yeah, I figured I would just, instead of like having it take up time on a Q&A, I would do sort of a separate episode about it, because maybe not everybody's interested in exactly in fitness, perhaps in general, or at least what I happen to do for it. I am, I'll admit, like, I'm really one of those guys. Well, I'll just play it straight. Like, I'm kind of obsessed, like, with wanting to get, that larger, like, muscle mass and everything. I mean, once you get started down the path of like really taking working out, seriously, and I don't, it doesn't even necessarily have to be bodybuilding or whatever, just having a concern. Yeah. Like, how do you define bodybuilding? Right. I mean, like there's so many different levels to that sort of thing. There was a time where I was like really into that. And like, I really wanted to, like go to the next level with it and everything, going to like, I mean, but we're talking, 15 years ago, we're talking when I was like 20. And when I was even when I was in the military, like I was, I was really, I took fitness pretty seriously at that point. And admittedly, like, well, I had a period of my life, unfortunately, where I was married, and, fitness was not a part of the program in that marriage. In fact, it was one of the real, when I wanted to get back into getting fit again, during, I was married for 7 years. It was actually like a real, like, contentious thing. Like, oh, no, you don't want to be fit. In fact, I remember, and this is not how I expected to start off this episode talking about this, but well, I'll be short with it. But like, there's these, there was like a fad of this a couple of years ago. What do they call it? Dad bod or something. Like there was this, not to say I had a dad bod, but there's kind of this trope, and it probably still gets talked quite a bit, by certain, I don't know, like family style media or something, that, oh, the most attractive men, the men with the best families and the most successful marriages, aren't in shape, like they have a little bit of a gut on them and all this stuff. And I remember getting schlepped on me by my ex family. And I'm just like, that's horseshit. It's like, and I know that's horseshit. Like, stop, as if somehow having a successful marriage is like somehow any kind of metric of happiness. I mean, give me a fucking break. So anyway, ever since I moved to New Hampshire, I very much got back into fitness and everything, and, weights, the whole business, and paying a lot more attention to what I eat. And all of this, and, even getting into various diets. I've talked about a lot of this stuff before. I don't strictly follow, say, the paleo diet, but I definitely follow the paleo diet. Like I'm certainly on, like, I agree with it. I understand it. And to me, it makes sense. For a little while, admittedly, the paleo diet was a real fad, in like the liberty movement, whatever those words mean, because I think it fit in line with kind of the anti-authoritarian kind of counterculture. Well, the government's lying to us about everything, including the fat-free, kind of ideology that exists within food and all of this. So there was a while where, like, being low carb and all this was really, like, it was a big deal. In fact, I remember a video by Kathy Reisenwitz where, and I forget who else she made it with, but anyway, Kathy's awesome. So, but there's this video, that Kathy Reisenwitz made, and there was like a point, and she was, kind of like self-parroting, libertarians. And there's this one part that I remember where it says, do you even eat paleo? You know, like that. And because it was that big of a thing, like it was almost like part of the ideology at the time. And that's certainly changed drastically now. Like I really don't think it's part of the program anymore, as it were, which is, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter to me really what people decide to eat. But I still subscribe pretty much to low carb, and, you know, depending on what circumstances are, you know, in my life, I like to stick as close as I can to at least paleo or the primal diet. So I suppose maybe that's the most important thing to first talk about is diet, because really that's where, you know, if you're wanting to get into fitness, and I'll describe what I do as far as exercises and all that. And I'll be very specific. I'll talk about what I make my protein shakes out of. I will talk about, like what supplements do I take. I'm going to give you the full breakdown here, and I'll put it all in the show notes as well, so you can go look it up. Now, if you're curious, though, about like eating paleo, like if you want to know about that first aspect, I am a big fan of Mark Sisson. Now, he changes it up where he calls it the primal diet, not paleo, because he allows for butter, which, you know, the paleo diet would mean that there really wouldn't be any dairy either, you know, no sugars, no dairy, you know, none of that, or very low carb, etc. As to where Mark Sisson would, you know, he allows for like white rice, here and there, has some other like, you know, carb loading. He has a bunch of different ideas, and he has a few books out, and I think they're all great. In fact, he just came out with a new edition just this year, I think, of 2017. He came out with a new edition of the Primal Blueprint, and I was very impressed. Like, he really updated a lot. It's a really good book. So that's, as far as eating goes, as far as diet goes, I would start there with the Primal Blueprint. Definitely. I mean, if you want to split hairs, I am far more, you know, of the primal mindset than I am of the paleo as far as diet goes. But some people can't have dairy. Some people can't have, some of the things that say Mark Sisson would, allow for, kind of outside of, the more strict paleo diet. So, I mean, and if anything, you know, at least go low carb. Like, at least do low carb. I'm definitely a huge believer in that. You know, no matter which way you want to slice that. If you want to go all the way with like paleo or whatever, it really at least go low carb. So that's, I mean, that covers a good chunk of diet. Now what I'm going to do now is I will get into the workout plan that I do. Okay. And yeah, I mean, I could tell you, I'm debating on telling you some stories, but I don't think I will. But you know, I'll talk about, you know, what I do as far as workouts go, and then I'll get into supplements and what kind of shakes that I take after that. That way you can modify based upon how much you're going to work out. You can modify like what you'd want to put into a shake, or what you would want to take as far as supplements go. And I actually have something unique that I'm trying as far as supplements. I mean, the supplements I take are, you know, all claim a degree of like weight loss and, you know, toning and all this shit, right? But it's kind of got something else going. You know, I have a different purpose behind that, but I'll talk about that, you know, in a second. So as far as working out, I try to keep it pretty simple. Now, I have the fortunates, and this is all thanks to the lovely and hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy. We're fortunate enough to be able to have, like, you know, kind of a makeshift home gym. Okay. And so I can work out at home. I don't have to go to the gym. We've admittedly talked quite a bit about wanting to go to a gym, start going to a gym. And there's varying reasons for that I could get into. I mean, one of them, I won't go into that. Okay. So nothing wrong if you want to go to a gym. I think that's wonderful. Kind of the one thing that I don't have at home that I really wish I did have, you know, that a gym would offer, is I don't have the barbells, or, you know, I don't have the barbell. Like I can't really do bench presses or whatever. I've a wide range of dumbbells. And it's great, you know, that I get to use those. but I don't really have any barbells. So anyway, I keep things pretty simple as far as working out. I mean, I keep it like really, really simple. I'm also of the mindset, like, I don't really agree that you need to constantly like change things up. You know, like, I really think that there are a few workouts out there that are just so, well, all right. For example, if you're going for like a wide back, okay, if you're trying to work your lats or something like this, I mean, you're pretty much stuck with, doing, pull-ups, right? Or chin-ups or whatever. I mean, like there's certain workouts that, like, look, that's just the only way you're going to get this. I mean, they can make fancy machines that try to simulate it and all that, but the motion's the same. And so I don't believe in like this whole idea of, change it up, every couple weeks or something, because really what's happening is your body is getting used to, is just becoming really good at doing that exercise. I mean, I get that, but to solve that problem, like, I agree that can be a problem where your body isn't actually like getting toned or getting like a functional strength or something, but it's actually just getting used to being able to do a certain movement and do it really efficiently and well. Not to say that really, I mean, what's wrong with that? But other than, it may not serve your ultimate end, your ultimate goals, as far as fitness goes. But I would say, like, really the solution to that is to just get outside and move around a bit, a couple times a week, and like really move around, be a fucking animal when you go out there. I mean, there's people that talk about, there's kind of that style of exercise called MoveNat, which means move naturally. It's MOVNAT. And I think that's very interesting. There's certainly something to it, to doing that kind of stuff. And Mark Sisson would also recommend it, like when you read the Primal Blueprint, when he gets into the fitness aspects of it. He also has another book called The Primal Connection, which is really, really handy. Primal Endurance, that's his third book. Not required reading unless, like, you're really an athlete. Like, I mean, you're a professional athlete. Otherwise, I don't, it doesn't really do anything for the everyday person, in my opinion. So anyway, getting out there and just moving around a bit and doing some different stuff. I think that shakes things up to where the muscle that you're building with the workouts that you're doing, it gives it that function. It gives it that functional strength, that functional ability, and keeps you from, maybe getting muscle bound or something like this. And I suppose I should caveat all of this with, look, I'm not a doctor. Okay. This is just stuff that I do. I'm not even like, I don't know that I really feel qualified in even talking about it, other than, I had a Sovereign Tech patron ask me about it. And so I'll tell you what I do, and of course what I do is based upon the works of people that I, more or less do consider to be experts, in their various fields. So anyway, so like I said, I try to keep things simple. As far as workout equipment, it's mainly dumbbells and body weight. We do have a set of rings, and I do like that, like suspension rings. Like I love the rings. Very, very, very handy. So a book that I use, all right, there's two things. Now, what got me, back in the day, and we're going to talk about this book again a little later. Okay, back in the day, back when I was, just coming out of being a teenager, I guess, or even while I was still a teenager, I read, and this is the book that really set me, well, first off, I saw the movie Pumping Iron, of course, which is a documentary film from, 76, 77, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And of course, I mean, this documentary is legendary now. I can quote this documentary. It is just, I love it. It is such a good movie. Like, the only thing better than an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is an Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, quite frankly. Especially back in the, way back then. Now I know he's kind of a statist ass, ripping on Nickelback, which, come on. but anyway, so he, I saw Pumping Iron, and I was like, wow, I want to know more. I want to know how this goes. And he had the book, his autobiography, which was Arnold, the Education of a Bodybuilder. Tremendous book. I cannot recommend it enough. And in the back of it, we'll talk about some of his story later. But in the back of the book, it actually gives you a workout guide. Now, The workout guide is fine. It even gives you like how to make shakes. It gives you meal plans. It gives you all this different stuff. Obviously not paleo, but there's certainly plenty of protein to be had in that. I went by that plan and I did pretty well for myself back then. So, that book still stands the test of time, in my opinion. But what was more interesting was this one thing stuck with me. And that is that if you haven't worked out in a long time, and I mean, years or maybe even less, or if you never have worked really, did like a fitness regimen of some kind, he said, look, you got to build up to that. You got to, and it's going to take like 3, 6, maybe even 9 months. You got to build up to where you have some functional strength. That way, when you start breaking out weights, you're not injuring yourself. You're not giving yourself, I don't know, hernia, whatever, or some kind of muscle strain, like an abdominal strain or something like that, which these things can happen, and they can unfortunately happen pretty easily. So I agree with that. And if you're going to do that, pretty much you just want to rock out some body weight exercises before you pick up any weights. If you're just starting out on getting into fitness, okay, body weight just means you're using the force of gravity against your own body to work out. Now, a great place to start, and I've talked, this was like a website of the week years ago on Sovereign Tech, and it's still useful to me to this day. It was great when I got back into fitness. It's still great, even now that I'm very, years in. And the website is DareBee. It's darebee.com, DAREBEE.com. Now, this is important because it used to be called NeelaRay.com because it was done by Neela Ray, who I actually wanted to have her on as a guest on Sovereign Tech, but she's like, oh no, I'm terrible on radio. And so I was like, okay, fine. But she's really cool. So anyway, darebee.com, I mean, it has tons. You go to the website, and there's a link in the show notes for this episode. Like there's just so many different workouts, but what's really cool about it, and we'll get into more of this a little bit later. What's really cool about it is that the workouts are like based around a theme, and like it's really geeky shit, like really nerd stuff. Like there's a Superman workout, there's a Batman workout, there's an Arrow workout, like the Green Arrow. There's even one of my favorites that I still use, especially if I'm in a hotel room or something. There's the Fremen workout from Dune. I mean, so she gets into some really deep cuts. As far as like science fiction goes, and you get it. I mean, there's a Star Trek workout, there's even like a Sonic the Hedgehog workout. I mean, there's all this wild stuff, that I think is really cool because it gives you a certain mindset, which is definitely something that I recommend, when, before we even get into what the workouts are. Something I recommend is whatever you're working on, if it's full body, it's full body. If it's biceps, it's biceps. If it's legs, if it's a legs day, thinking about the legs. I know this sounds nuts, and this is something else from Arnold, okay? But there's a little something to it, even if it's just placebo. I don't care. There's a little something to it, and that is like when I'm working out, say my biceps. Like I really I'm concentrating. I'm thinking about my biceps. There's no woo woo here. Okay. I'm not talking about The Secret or any of that kind of bullshit. All right. I'm just saying like, I'm really concentrating on it. Now, the benefit of that is that I could be paying attention to having proper form when I'm working out the biceps. Okay. And proper form, without saying, but I'll say it, is so important because that's how you prevent injuries. Okay. Believe me, I've done the deed where, it's like, no, I got to get the amount of reps, forget about proper form. I just got to get those reps, and you get, you end up getting hurt by it. And hopefully it's not permanent. Thankfully for me, it hasn't. Anyway, so you want to get your mind on whatever muscle group you happen to be working on. Okay. So the mentality is a great thing. And like I said, if anything, it just helps you focus more, on doing the exercise properly. Maybe that's all that it is, but it definitely, in my opinion, it works for me. I see what I feel is more growth and strength, when I have my mindset in it. One of the great ways to have that mindset is, if you're using the workouts from DareBees, where it sort of gets you into a certain mindset, on like a different way of thinking about it, and I'm going to get into role-playing exercises a little bit later on, because this is something that really, because we can talk about all the exercises that you do, but look, if you don't have the motivation to do them, well, fuck it. Who cares how much you know about exercising, right? You got to have that motivation. And so I want to talk about motivation sort of, at Well, maybe we'll do that in the middle of all this. So Dare Bees is a great resource. They also have workouts with weights that I use all the time. So that's a fantastic, if you're just getting started, you want to do body weights. If you're just, they have everything there, stretches, all kinds of stuff. And again, they have stuff for advanced, very advanced as far as fitness goes, as well. Just a tremendous, tremendous fucking resource. And it's all totally free. They accept donations. I recommend donating, to them if you get use out of it. So darebee.com, that's a great place to start. The other book that I recommend, and this is, granted, I'm kind of speaking for men here. Though women can shake this up, and I know that there's equal books for women. Dare Bee caters to men and women, whatever. Like I mean, it really does. So that's again just a great little resource. In fact, I can tell you, I know that at least Pixel Paige Peterson, she uses Dare Bee based on my recommendation, and she's doing great. So anyway, I know she recommends it to other people too, and always gives me a nice little hat tip for it, which is nice. So anyway, Dare Bee is a great thing. Now, but for men, this is the one that I can speak to. There's a book called, and yes, you can find it on torrent sites, The Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. It's by Sean Hyson, and it's in the show notes, so you can find the title in case you forget. And it's from Men's Health, and it's like 100 exercises. And it is real, like this book is the exercise Bible. It is so good for a few reasons. One is that it's all broken down into like what muscle group you want to work out. And you can be, you can target muscle groups, or you can be more broad, meaning you could do an arms day where it's the full arm, or you could just do biceps or something, right? And the other beauty is that it has like, okay, what equipment do you have? Are you just doing body weight? Okay, here's your exercise for body weights. Do you have do you just have barbells? A barbell? Then okay, then use, here's a barbell. Do you just have dumbbells? Then okay, here's the one to use, with just dumbbells. So like you can tailor it to exactly what you have and what you want to do. The book is phenomenal. I keep it on my Kindle, and it's always there ready to go, and I can choose whatever exercise out of it. It is the primary book that I have used for years now. There was a little while where I was just kind of making stuff up on my own, and I think I got, I feel really good about how that worked out for me, because, it was kind of more full body. But now that I want to target a lot more, for the past, couple years at least, or maybe it's like 3 years. And I think the book came out in like 2015. I think it's a fairly new book, and they still advertise the fuck out of it because they know they created, a piece of gold with it. It is just a fantastic, it is like I said, it's called the Bible. It's the Bible. Again, it's the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible by Sean Hyson, and it's from Men's Health. They just did a tremendous work there. Now, if you're looking to get into bodybuilding, of course, Arnold also wrote, and this is a massive tome that I don't have a copy of right now, at least not a physical copy of, but it was called the Men's. Yeah, it's like, or no, it's just the mod, or that, not men's, it's the Modern Bodybuilding Encyclopedia. It is a huge $50 book. I used to keep a copy myself when I was, younger. And, that's a tremendous resource, to look into. So anyway, as far as what exercises I do, depends on the day, but I exercise generally, like I try to do 7 days a week. Oftentimes it can be 5 to 6, but I like to do 7. There's nothing wrong with doing 7. You do not have to do off days. You definitely want to, change what days you're working what, but I really don't believe in off days whatsoever. So my primary area that I concentrate on is arms, admittedly. Like that's certainly, kind of a big deal for guys, and I've said that, I know I've said this on other shows, like maybe on Sex and Science Hour, or maybe even on a Sovereign Tech episode, or maybe even on a past Patreon episode. If you have good arms, like big arms and, kind of defined arms, a lot of what else is going on for you, you can really get away with a lot. Like as long as you kind of have that show of size, kind of mass, of strength and all this. And I know that sounds very conventional, but I mean, it's just, it is a reality. Okay. You really can get away with, and say any other, if the rest of your body isn't at peak performance or at a level that you want it to be. Okay, so concentrating on arms is a fine thing. Not saying I have that issue. I'm just saying that, it is definitely a primary area that I concentrate on is, kind of arms and legs. And really like abs is sort of an afterthought. Not an afterthought. I like to concentrate on that, like, twice a week, or even just like in between. If I'm doing a longer day where I'm doing a longer workout, where maybe I'll do one workout from the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. Okay. Like say I'm doing the biceps workout in that. Then afterwards I want to do, like, say from Derby's, there's one called the hammer workout, and you can look all these up. Say I want to do that after, like maybe I'll do abs in between. So that I give I give my arms a chance to rest a bit, and then I will end up, doing a second set of arms. I never really work out more than an hour. Usually it can only be 20, sometimes it's only 25 minutes. But if I can do an hour, I do like to do an hour, but I generally don't go over that, for what I do. So, I concentrate, like arms is 3 days a week. And then the other, the other 4 days is shaking things up. Sometimes it's more like of a kind of a cardio day where I'll do what I mentioned, the Fremen workout from Derby, where it's, it's squats, a couple, some push-ups, and then some other odd moves. But I mean, it definitely gets you sweating, gets you moving and everything. I'll do that maybe, a couple times a week. And then there'll be a couple of leg days, that I will do as far as that goes. And what I follow is, again, these workouts, and mainly it's the dumbbell workouts because that's the primary equipment that I have. The dumbbell workouts that get done that get shown off in the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. Okay. So if you want, get your hands on that book. All right. Because I mean, I could describe all the ones I do, but that's really what I stick to. I do the Fremen workout a lot. I always have that as a standby. I know it by heart now. I know most of these by heart because I've been doing them for years now. But, and then I do the arms and legs that are based out of the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. Now so Derby keeps coming out with like new workouts, and sometimes I'll test those out, and it's not really to shake things up. Like, I look at their workout and I'm like, oh, I like what that does. And I'll do that. But there are, I like to do upper body as well. So as far as like those 3 days of arms, this is like kind of the main area where I actually where I do something different on each day. One day is the full arms workout from the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. Okay. The other one is the biceps only workout from the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. And then the third arm day is usually either, and this is from Derby, it's what's called Power 20 or Power 25, or they have an upper body, back, and biceps that I will do. That way, I get those Power 20, Power 25 actually does full upper body. It's not just, arms are part of it. Working out with your arms is a big part of that. So that's why I kind of consider it an arm day, but really it's mainly, back, chest and then some biceps and all this. And again, abdominals get done, kind of in between all of it. You just kind of toss that in because your abdominal muscles are, they heal quickly. So you can do them a lot more as to where you want to split things up a bit, with the other workouts that you do. So like, as far as the arms, the 3 days, I actually do 2 arm days in a row. And then the third arm day can end up anywhere. But I do 2 in a row, then a third arm day. And in between that, the legs, they can be 2 in a row. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And then, and then if I'm doing like the Fremen workout or some kind of cardio thing, they end up anywhere within that. But again, my primary focus is always on, arms, chest, upper body is my kind of my primary area that I look at. Legs, there's all kinds of ways to work out legs, all kinds of really creative ways to do that. And you don't even necessarily need, weights to do it. But I think, for an upper body, I think weights have to come into the picture, or using rings. Sometimes I don't do this too often because it's really fucking hard, but there's a great rings upper body workout in the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible. And I will I'll do the rings workout, but I mean, it kills me. Like, I mean, and it can take me up to an hour to do it, but I never do more than if it's going to be one of those days where I try the rings workout, I never do more than that. Oh man, is that something? So anyway, so those are my workouts. That's pretty much how that shapes up. Dumbbells, use whatever dumbbells you want. It doesn't matter. I do use fat grips, and that's FATGRIPZ. Maybe I can, if I think of it, I'll put the link in the show notes for it. I do use fat grips on my dumbbells, and what this is it's like this. It's this piece of it's effectively rubber that you wrap around the handle of the dumbbell. It can be used for barbells too. Okay. It wraps around it and it creates like a much wider grip. Now there's also a Fat Grips Extreme. I have not upgraded to that yet. I may at some point, but it creates a thicker handle. Okay. And that thicker handle, here's the nice thing, that thicker handle, it makes the weight like kind of harder to handle. So it gives you a better workout just from that. But then also I've noticed, and I've been using fat grips for over a year now, ever since I first heard about them. I've noticed that it automatically gives me like a forearms workout just because of, the grip that you have to put on the dumbbells, on the handles of the dumbbells. So I'm a big, they're like $40-$45, and you can probably get knockoff ones for cheaper, which whatever, that's up to you. But I think they're a totally worthy investment, and you can switch them out. You don't have to buy a whole ton of them. You can switch them between the various weights that you want to put them on. But I love those. I work out with them all the time. Unless I'm at if I'm in a hotel or something, or, I'm away, and I don't have my own dumbbells, handy. Then obviously I don't use them. I don't carry them with me or anything, but very, very handy. Let's see, I guess what other odd things do? I do work out, barefoot. If I was going to a gym, I would definitely be wearing, Vibram 5 fingers, which I have a pair of, that I take with me everywhere I go. Yes, your feet get smelly wearing those. It's a fact. But you can wash Vibrams and it's not atrocious. It's not too bad, when you do that. So yeah, a big believer and also in that, and either working out barefoot or simulating barefoot, when working out, no matter what you're doing. I really do, recommend rocking that out. So that's another, I guess, piece of equipment, that I go with if I need it, especially if I'm going to a gym. I mean, I love wearing Vibram 5 fingers all the time. I'm like, they feel so good, especially like summer in New Hampshire. I haven't really tested out any winter models, and they've apparently gotten better, as far as the winter ones go, but I'm such a fan. I wish they solved like kind of the odor aspect of them. I mean, not that I'm going to, walk around with stinky feet or anything, but I'm just saying that eventually they are going to get stinky, and I just wish they would solve it to where they don't. I mean, you can wear, what do they have, like those Injinji, toe socks. But I don't know, those can be a pain in the ass themselves. So anyway, just a huge fan of 5 fingers, definitely a part of, barefoot or wearing those is definitely a big part of my workout. So that pretty much describes, how I break down how I work out. And I use, as far as like ab workouts, I go with usually something off of Derby, like they have Code of Abs, or they have a Rocky, as in Rocky Balboa, a Rocky abs workout, or a Bruce Lee abs workout. And I'll just go with those. And it's usually just body weight. Sometimes they'll have you use a kettlebell, like to do sitting twists, like Russian twists. And that's, I don't mind using a kettlebell for that, or even a dumbbell for that. I have not been impressed with kettlebell workouts because it doesn't give me kind of what I'm looking for. I like going for that size, and it's not there. Like it doesn't really do that. In fact, we talked about that on the episode that Brett was on, where we talked about fitness, that we both were not, and I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but that it seemed like we both were not impressed with what kettlebells, kind of do for you. Because they were kind of they were a fad. For a little while, certainly. So, okay. We got all that knocked, that's what my workouts look like. I don't really change it up from any of that. Every once in a while, maybe I do something different. And if I ended up really liking it, which I haven't really found anything that I really liked outside of the one book that I mentioned, and you can disagree with me that you think, it's not a good idea to just keep doing the same exercises forever. Again, I shake it up by getting out and getting functional and doing, all kinds of wild little movements. I don't shake it up by changing the actual, workouts all the time. But that's it. So hopefully that explains, kind of my thoughts on that. And again, this is definitely coming from the male perspective. So if I know I have a lot of female patrons, so I apologize that this might not really appeal to you. But anyway, there it is. So, okay, now we'll get into, how about we get into shakes? We talked diet, talked about what I do as far as workouts, and then we'll get into, no, you know what? Before I get into the shake, I want to talk about, I want to talk about role playing. This might be the part that is most interesting to people. Okay. Because this is the part that you don't read about in a lot of books. I thought about this before I learned about Darebee, but Darebee kind of takes it to the next level. Now, like we said, Darebee.com, they have all these free workouts and everything. They even have like full PDFs that you can download that are like these monthly plans or weekly plans or whatever. And they kind of try to make a game out of it. Now, there's apps that do this too. Like there's that Zombie 5K, right? Where it's Zombie Run. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Zombie Run 5K or something, where it's an audio adventure. You play on your phone and like you're acting out that you're running away, say, from a bunch of zombies. And the audio is giving you cues to do, all these different things. There's other ones, Battlesuit Runner, which actually, I had the guy that created that. He was a guest on Sovereign Tech. Just a fantastic guy. Liberty minded, the whole thing. So there's Battlesuit Runner, there's others out there. That kind of do this. And Darebee offers, kind of these PDF plans of how to do sort of a role playing thing. And, you get, it's all sort of Dungeons and Dragons kind of tabletop style and how you keep track of your points. Right. But it's there. And I think that that's kind of fun. So I'm a huge, whether I'm saying it or not, cause Stephanie and I will work out together sometimes, we don't have the opportunity to work out together. However, our days end up, going, cause we're just incredibly busy and hardworking people. But whether I'm saying it to Stephanie or if I'm just doing it in my head, but I'm always role playing, when I go to the gym. And maybe I'm role playing something honestly, if I'm doing the Fremen workout from Darebee.com, I'd like to imagine that I'm a Fremen, and hell, maybe after the workout, I'm going to go join the Tau Si Georgie. Woohoo! Yes, indeed. Of course, all the Dune fans know about that, or at least I hope they do. But I like to get my head in that. That's part of my motivation, is in doing some kind of role playing, even when, say I'm doing like a biceps workout or something. There's a part of my bicep workout is doing reps of where you're holding the dumbbells at kind of with your palms facing out. You're holding the dumbbells at your side, at the side of your legs. Okay. Kind of like you're standing at attention or something, but you're holding dumbbells with your palms out. And you pull up. Okay. And, you're doing this pull up motion totally parallel in line with your body, with your upper body. And, I do 12 to 15 of those. Okay. With whatever weight I happen to be, lifting with at the time. And if it gets, you do so many sets of that, if it gets to a point, where I'm having a hard time getting it up, or even getting up the dumbbells like that, or even if, maybe I'm just feeling saucy on that day. I'll admit it. I imagine that I'm actually lifting like a cart, like the handles of a cart when I'm pulling up these dumbbells up the side of my body. Okay. And in that cart, maybe one or two or whatever, beautiful women, usually if Stephanie's not right there, or, she is right there, I'll imagine her being in the cart, and maybe someone else, or, someone else, whatever, or if you want to imagine, some green Orion animal women, in the cart, rock and roll. Okay. But honestly, it works. Because, you sort of get in the head, or, you start to psych yourself up over, you're reminding yourself why you want to look good. And that's an important question to ask too. Why do you want to work out? Why do you want your body to be in such a shape? Is it just to look good naked? That is completely valid and A-okay. Like, I mean, that's just awesome and a dynamite reason to do that, guy or gal. That's a wonderful thing. Okay. So, that may remind you of that. It's like, yeah, I want to look good, when I'm getting busy, when I'm fucking. So, I like to, imagine that. I mean, you can kind of picture it like in Rocky IV, remember Rocky is, in fact, I should talk about that too. I should talk about music. In Rocky IV, there's the scene where, he's working out in Russia and, he has Paulie and whoever else sitting in a cart and he's just, like he's pressing the cart and he's lifting them up, And so that's where I got kind of the idea from. But, I just imagine that, there's at least one gorgeous woman, usually Stephanie or whatever, in the cart, there and then just, kind of having fun with it. And I play that all out in my head. And it works. Like it really, oftentimes that's what'll take me to the next, help me finish the last couple reps or whatever. So I think role playing is a fantastic thing. If you want to go nuts, if you have the space, if you don't have to go to a gym, you can do it at home or your backyard or something. If you want to go nuts and pretend that you're running away from Romulans or something, or the whole zombie thing, whatever. I mean, please, by all means do that. Get your head in the fucking game because it'll, was that High School Musical? Get your head in the game. I remember that. Ooh, boy, that takes it back. But anyway, yeah, I mean, go for it. In fact, this is something where I got this idea to do this from. And I think this is just one of the hottest goddamn things. If you read Education of a Bodybuilder, by Arnold, this is the book that I mentioned to you, earlier. If you read that, I think it's like chapter 6, where he talks about back in Austria, him and his other, weightlifting friends, they would run off, they would, their girlfriends or whoever would come along with them. They would go out into the woods. They'd go camping for a week and they would pretend that they're like gladiators. They'd work out with, tossing logs, doing whatever the fuck they're doing. And, then, the ladies there or the men, however it worked out, would end up cooking some meat. They'd bring food with them, obviously, when they go camping, and they'd end up cooking some meat. And, then they'd have sex right around the campfire, and they were pretending that they were like Roman gladiators. I think that's a dynamite idea. Sure. Why the fuck not? Anything to get you excited about it, anything to get you motivated about it and to have fun with it. I think it's wonderful. And I'll admit, like that had to be some of the sexiest shit in history. Those times in Austria, I can only imagine. And certainly I've tried to replicate that at times, to varying degrees of success, but I think that's, oh hell, over the years. And I think it's wonderful. So yeah, really get your, I mean, there's times where I'm working out where I'm like, yeah, I'm Agent Sovereign, I mean, whatever, just do it. It's such a key part to it. Now it's different from gamification. Like, I don't know that you want to take it seriously enough. Like, I don't do the ones from Derbies. I think it's great. I understand it. I'm glad it's available. I don't really do like, keeping points and all this shit. That's getting to a point where, I don't know. I feel like you're taking your eye off the prize at that point, because then it's all about points and not so much about, perhaps like your real personal intrinsic end goals, and end game. So yeah, I get a little worried about the gamification of the thing, but just role playing and just, fantasizing and going wild with it. I think that's just a wonderful thing to do. So anyway, role playing, huge part of it. And maybe the one thing that I wish more fitness books would talk about would talk about the mentality. The only people I've ever really heard talk about the mentality, I mean, it's real. Arnold's really the only one. He was talking about it in the 70s. There's even like modern stuff that I've seen where, he talks about, again, concentrating on the muscle that you're working out, like really getting your thoughts there effectively. He's the only guy that does that. And he can talk, obviously, 7-time Mr. Olympia, right? Only beaten by Lee Haney, and I guess Ronnie Coleman, tied Lee Haney for the Olympia. So, hey, anyway, so yeah, role playing, big part of it. Having a special mindset. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. I know a lot of people talk about visualization too, where like you get a poster of the body that you want to look like, and you kind of hang that up wherever you're wherever it's helpful to constantly see it, if it's in a home gym or whatever, you know, if it's just in your bedroom or something. I can only see that as helpful. I don't think there's anything magical about it, you know. But I don't think that's a terrible idea either. I don't do that, but I mean, I have in my mind, you know, I know what I want to look like. But anyway, so, all right, next I'll do music. I wasn't planning on talking music, but I'll talk music for myself. Stephanie actually likes to listen to podcasts while working out. The thing is, for me, and this isn't a complaint, she can play whatever she wants. Not, you know, I'm just happy to be with her and happy to be working out. For me, like, sometimes they're comedic, you know, kind of podcasts. And like, if I start laughing, I can't lift, you know, like if I'm lifting and then like in the middle of that, somebody says something funny on the podcast, like I'm lost, you know, I drop, you know, I don't drop anything, but I mean, you know, I can't continue the lift. So I'm not, I have in the, you know, sometimes it depends on how you feel. Sometimes I feel like listening to a podcast while working out. Other times I feel like music. I know a lot of people, you know, are the same way. As far as the music I like to listen to, metal, pretty much metal all the time. I understand the rap thing. And I, you know, I've made certain rap playlists, you know, and hip hop playlists, whatever, that do very well for me, you know, that have kind of that level of intensity as well. I mean, honestly, for me, it's like, you know, kind of Nelly, DMX, you know, guys like that, or Puff, you know, or well, P Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever, you know, I'm actually a huge Diddy fan. So, you know, you can do that, and maybe some Eminem, you know, you can put those together and you can create a really good intense list. But the point is I just want the music to be really intense. And metal usually, you know, fits that bill every time. And I know it's worked for other people too. In fact, I get asked for recommendations on, you know, what's good workout music. And I think 80s metal is the best, especially like, again, you know, ask yourself, why do you want to work out? Do you just want to live forever? Or, you know, do you want to look good naked? Like what's the impetus here? And I mean, if part of it is to look good naked, if it's about sex or something like that, then yeah, I think listening to fucking 80s metal, listening to Motley Crue, listening to Kiss and all that, Whitesnake, fuck yeah, do it. You know, because that's part of that whole mentality. You know, you're even soaking in what you want out of this. And I think, you know, that can only help. So listening to music with a message might be really helpful, you know, for you. Maybe you're the kind of person that can do it to a podcast, and I think that's wonderful. So yeah, it's really, I think, as far as like what you want to listen to while you do it, and I do recommend listening to things, unless you're out in nature, unless you're really like outside, you know, then you just want to listen to the sounds of nature. And there's a certain, you know, obviously there's a certain rhythm to that, right? That can be motivating, you know, because you're out there, yeah, ooh, you know, but yeah, I mean, when you're in the gym, you know, if you have headphones on, or, you know, if you're in a home gym or something, you got a stereo, you know, I think metal's great. Soundtracks can actually be great too. Like, and I'll be honest, like the Rocky IV soundtrack, if you can get the entire, like, I think Entrada came out with the entire score. I mean, which doesn't have any of the songs, you know, like No Easy Way Out, you know, Burning Heart and Hearts on Fire. The Entrada score, like you can listen to that whole score by Vince DiCola, which is a great score, by the way, even though it sounds a lot like what Vince DiCola also scored before that, which was Transformers, the movie back in the 80s. I mean, that is just great music, you know, to work out to. So scores can do it too. It doesn't have to be metal. The point is it's got to be intense. It's just got to have some kind of a beat that you can kind of, you know, follow up with, or follow along with to some degree, or a message, you know, something. So that's really up to you. That's totally up to personal taste. I'm just telling you what I rock out with, you know, and I definitely love to play metal, all kinds. I mean, it doesn't even just have to be 80s metal. Like I can play, you know, what do they call it? Butt rock or whatever, you know, play some Disturbed, play some Hinder, you know, things like that. So yeah, music, the sounds going on, that can be really, really important. You know, and having a good pair of headphones for that might be a very helpful thing for you. So, and obviously you're not going to do that with AirPods on. You're fucking kidding me. Not if you're doing a real workout. And then also, you know, that comes down to noise. Now, this is a tough thing because there's some gyms and there's some people who have like the idea that your workout should be really quiet. Like, you shouldn't be making grunts or loud noises or anything like that. I so fucking totally disagree. And in fact, I mean, I get it when you're at the gym that you want to do that, but if you're not at the gym, if you're at a home gym and you don't have to go out somewhere, make the fucking noises. That gym should sound like a goddamn orgy's going on, in my opinion. Like really, really let out some barbaric yawps, in my opinion. I love doing that. I love getting, noisy with it. I don't have to, but it just, I don't know, it feels good. To really like, kind of let that out. Now in the movie Pumping Iron, actually Arnold makes a joke out of it saying that, you want to make like this, to get to the next level, you want to make these really loud sounds and all this stuff. And I think he's talking about when you go out on stage that you want to make these loud sounds and he was pulling a prank on a guy about it. But anyway, I think it's absolutely, the grunts and all that stuff. To me, you're taking it to the next level. Dropping the weights and all this stuff, if you have the setup to where you can do that, I really think that just kind of adds to the intensity of what you have going on. And intensity is good in a workout, at least for me. It may not be the same for everybody, and that's fine. People, I mean, so much of this is subjective, and up to personal taste. So, okay. So we got diet, and we talked about Primal. That's what I recommend as far as diet. We talked about what workouts I do. We mentioned Dare Bees, as well as the Men's Fitness Exercise Bible by Sean Hyson from Men's Health. Those are the resources. Talked about doing role playing, getting your head, turn that gym workout into a fantasy. In fact, I'll tell you this quick. One of my favorite fantasies to do, actually, this is a favorite fantasy for all kinds of things, is to like imagine that I'm sort of in an alien zoo. Like that, I'm sort of, maybe like a captured human or something like that. And I'm they're kind of studying me, I'm the specimen for their zoo or something like that. And that can get pretty hot, in the gym and out of the gym. That can be a very, very hot little fantasy to play off in your head. But I love doing that, and I can spice it up a bit, even with, thinking that I was a Starfleet officer and I was, whatever. Maybe I have to take on some Klingons or something after the fact. I mean, you have fun with the shit, man. Have fun. Otherwise, it's pointless. I mean, if you're a good hedonist, you want to try and, even the pain of working out, turn it into a pleasure. And so that, yeah. So we talked about role playing, talked about music, what sounds you want around you, kind of setting and all of this. And certainly I think that can be a very key aspect. The mentality, that you want to get into. So, okay. So we've got all that. I'm going to talk just a little bit about, what shakes that I have, because I do recommend a post-workout shake. And then, I want to talk about supplements. Now, adding on to the conversation of a diet, Stephanie and I actually, we generally only eat once a day. Generally. Sometimes there's some snacking in there, but we do what's called intermittent fasting, where, there's like a 12 to 16 hour period where you don't eat at all. You drink, fine, have water and tea and whatever else. But we only eat once a day. We usually only eat dinner, but it's, it can be kind of a sizable dinner. So I usually don't do any kind of like pre-workout, meal or snack. I'll talk about this. I'll break down more about this because I don't just eat at dinner, but I'll talk about that during the supplement section. So anyway, I will have, the workout. Usually what time do I work out? That's totally subjective. I can work out in the morning. I can work out just before dinner, but those are the two times that I like to work out, is either in the morning or just before dinner, because then just after dinner, especially like on an arms day, I can guarantee, I can make sure I have a post-workout shake. Now I take the shake very seriously, and my shakes admittedly are, as far as shakes go, are kind of expensive because they're dense. Not that I buy, because I don't have the money to do that. Okay. Not that I buy expensive ingredients or anything. But they're very dense. So, and I'll put this is in the show notes, what exactly I make my shakes out of. Okay. And what I have is 3 Nalgene bottles. Okay. That I constantly wash. And obviously you can have as many Nalgene bottles as you want. Okay. And I will, these are the standard Nalgene bottles that you can find. I mean, that are really popular because they're practically indestructible and you can put anything in them. I have more professional like shake bottles that like from Onnit that are designed to, usually mainly they're more designed for if you just have water and you're just adding like protein powder to water. And they have like a little whisk ball inside them that you can just shake, literally shake the shake, and it, mixes everything up nicely. I'll do those in a pinch. But my big time, shakes that I do, they are a part of the meal. They are a part of dinner. And usually I don't eat much else with them. I mean, this is how dense they are. So what it is, the base of it is just your normal can of coconut oil. Okay. A 13, or coconut milk. I'm sorry, not coconut oil, but coconut milk. Just a, like 13, 14 fluid ounce can of coconut milk, which you can usually get that for, I don't know, you could buy like a case of them for cheap, even on like Amazon, you can buy them, which I often do. Or if you got to get a single can, you can get it for sometimes under $2, sometimes a little over $2 a can. And that's definitely, kind of I guess you could say one of the larger expenses, of it. Not that that's really that expensive, but so that's the base of it. And I'll put that in, and all this is going into a blender. Okay. So I pour that into a blender. Then I add opening up the can. I use the can's amount. So again, this is another, say 13 ounces. I pour in that much water. Okay. Then 6 cubes of ice for consistency. Okay. And actually Stephanie helped me devise this whole shake, and I've been using it for years, in my opinion, to great effect. Then it's a tablespoon, not a teaspoon, a tablespoon of butter that I melt, okay, like in the microwave, and then I pour that into that. Then it's a tablespoon, and let's be careful with this one, a tablespoon of bee pollen granules. Now, this is just like one of those kind of superfood things, where, there's the claim of health, weight loss and all this different stuff. You can look into that for yourself if you want to add it in, but I caution you kind of have to build up a tolerance for it because it'll make you shit. Okay. So I do I'm up to the point of 1 tablespoon of bee pollen granules. I may get to the point of doing 2, in the future, but this is something relatively new that I've added. This is kind of the first new thing I've added probably in like 3 years, to my shakes. So a tablespoon of bee pollen granules, though you might want to start off with like half of that, just test it, see what you can handle or whatever. Then 1 tablespoon of MCT oil I put in. And then I put in a banana. That's up to you. Like if you want to add that in, but I toss in a whole banana, into it. And for the flavor, amongst, the other health benefits, certainly, of doing that. Then, after there's, 2, I usually do, it's about 2 tablespoons. Sometimes I go a little overboard with it, but usually it's 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And if you want to, put something else in there besides peanut butter, like maybe almond butter or something like that, you can certainly go forward with that. Peanut butter is one of those questionable. Well, it's not questionable. It's a legume, so it shouldn't be within a strict paleo diet. A primal diet allows for it a little bit more. But you could put in like, say, almond butter, which would fit in with the paleo diet instead. So usually it's 2 tablespoons of peanut butter that I put in there. And often, sometimes there's some protein to that, certainly, depending on what peanut butter you get. You can get peanut butter that's enriched with various vitamins as well. But a lot of it's for taste. Just adds a whole ton of taste to it, but it does also add protein depending on which brand you get. So there's peanut butter, and then it comes down to pretty much, now we're at the point of, okay, protein powder, you tossing in the protein powder. Now, I've experimented recently with a lot of different types of protein powder, like pea protein. Mainly I've been just using whey protein forever. In fact, there's an Arnold brand from Muscle Farm that I really like. There's a chocolate peanut butter flavored protein powder that I really like that I use. I have no problem, with that. This is an area where you need to make certain decisions. Whey does not fit in, again, with a strict paleo diet. I don't see it as a problem, in a more primal style diet, but there's pea protein, which that is, I recently used that and I really I thought it worked. The flavor wasn't terrible, especially when you have the peanut butter and the banana in there. pea protein was great. There's brown rice protein. There's all kinds of, but just there's more than just whey protein that you can choose from, even though whey is certainly the staple and probably the most popular. There's lots of zero carb, proteins, protein powders that you can get. This is definitely an area where you want to do the research, and I'm still doing the research, over the years over which ones I think, kind of work the best. I've certainly been pleased with the Arnold whey protein. That's kind of my staple. But this is up to you, where you want to go with that. Now, as far as how much you put in, it really varies upon what protein you're using, what protein powder you're using. Like if you're using pea protein powder, they come with their own little measuring cups inside the container, of course, and they will tell you on the back with directions, okay, how much do you want, how much protein do you need to put in there? And it's up to you how many grams you want to go with. It depends on what your goals are. Like if you're really trying to go massive, then you want to add in a lot more. And there's instructions on the back of all these things for that. So it depends on your goals. If you're just wanting, to kind of build up a little bit, then don't put so much protein in. But the protein powder, that's up to you, the amount, and then which, what kind that you want to use. But that's the shake. And then, put in the blender, blend, frappe, and away I go, and it'll fill you. I mean, because you're literally taking down an entire container of coconut milk, with everything else, a whole banana. And I'm a big guy. So I'm 6'1", about 205 pounds. So granted, I can eat a lot, so for some people that might be a whole fucking meal. It's almost a meal for me. But super, super, in my opinion, very healthy. And again, I had help from Stephanie in making that. So that's my post-workout shake that I use. And again, I use the L-Arginine bottle, and actually everything I just described will perfectly fit, like right to the top of an L-Arginine bottle. So that's a great metric, kind of to run off of if you don't want to be measuring everything all the time. Now I'll switch it up and go to, well, we'll talk about some supplements that I take. I don't take any like crazy supplements, like any of this like scientifically modified, crap that gets sold off like in say Flex magazine or Muscle and Fitness or something like that. I stick to pretty natural stuff, and this is going to be, this is lifelong experimenting. Okay. But right now I'm doing this thing called the Hyde Initiative, and as in Jekyll and Hyde. Okay, like, the Robert Louis Stevenson novel. And the purpose behind this, yes, there are, there's like the promotion of, I don't know what, varying things that happen within the body. There's promotion of weight loss, perhaps testosterone, there's all these different claims and everything. The supplements I take, because I talk about these on social media, so I'm going to mention them to you here. They're not really a part necessarily of my fitness regimen, but there is an idea behind this Hyde Initiative, which actually the working out is part of the Hyde Initiative, but the supplements I take aren't necessarily part of the working out. So I'll tell you what I take every day. I take L-Arginine, and this will all be listed off in the show notes as well. Fenugreek. I take Zinc. Horny Goatweed. You can laugh, but I do it. Or should I say more, it's Horny Goatweed extract. Turmeric and Maca powder. Okay. And those are, and I was taking Tribulus, but I don't know. It's kind of an expensive one. And I don't know that I was necessarily feeling the benefits, or I didn't feel any different when I added it in, because I've been testing this out for a few months now. I didn't feel any different when I added in Tribulus than when I didn't have it. So I'm assuming Tribulus doesn't do much for me. And it is amongst these, it's kind of the one that doesn't really have as much history as some of the others, because all the ones I just listed, or most of the ones that I just listed off, have some kind of like, great little alternative medicine story behind it where, the Romans took this, or the Greeks took this, or in India it does this. I mean, turmeric, like that seems to be sort of a wonder condiment or element, that people are like adding to everything now. And it really does seem to work. I mean, and not just for ingesting, but like even for skin problems and everything. Like it's really remarkable. And I've seen it before my very eyes on other people, what turmeric can do. So turmeric should be a staple on any diet, in my opinion. So in fact, turmeric powder, if I have, as long as I know I have bananas, and if I have a stronger tasting protein, I'll put it right into the shake. Otherwise, well, anyway, there's a bunch of different ways to, to take turmeric. Sometimes you put it on top of food or whatever. But that's not like one of the heavy concentrating ones for the Hyde initiative, because that one I just feel like is sort of proven, as to where the Hyde initiative is sort of a self experiment, that I'm doing with myself. And so L-Arginine, Fenugreek, Zinc, Horny Goatweed, Maca powder. Or not just powder, but it could be Maca pills as well. You can do the powder where you put it into the shake. It's up to you how you want to go about that, but get your Maca. So the idea I have with the Hyde initiative, the reason I named it Hyde, is an HYDE, is that I want to see, now I am a very, for lack of a better phrase, I am like a super hypersexual guy. Like, I'll just say, I want to fuck all the time. I am always ready. I am kind of always horny. I am always on. I am ready to go anytime. I rise to every occasion. Okay. And I want to see, so a lot of the things that I listed off, Fenugreek and Horny Goatweed and L-Arginine and Maca, this stuff gets touted as ways to sort of, for lack of better terms, increase libido, to get you, maybe get you thinking, get you more sexually active or something like this. It's not Viagra, but you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, you know what? I want to see what happens when a guy that's already sexually insane, what happens when he takes it? Is there some kind of increase? Is there something noticeable? And so I decided to start a regimen of these supplements to see, can you make a hypersexual person, can they go to plaid, right? Are they can you make them ultra hypersexual or something? And well, I'm still testing a lot of this out. Certainly there's other health benefits too, that work well with a good diet and with working out, that comes from taking these, totally natural supplements. But I have to say that, yeah, I think this little concoction is doing some shit, because, woo, my. I mean, I don't know that you want to hear kind of the graphic details, but let's just say that, yeah, I feel peaked. I feel perked up a bit. And I didn't think that was possible, but I do. So that's something that I add in. I mean, and it depends to what degree, what milligrams and you need to test all this with yourself, how much you want to take. Now, so what I do is now, ironically, I actually have a hard time swallowing pills. I kind of can't. So what I do is I always keep cottage cheese on hand, which is just another wonder food. Again, fat is a good thing. Okay. Eating fat is a good thing. So I will have, cottage cheese with the densest amount of fat as possible inside of it. And once I'm within the window of intermittent fasting, I will have 3 scoops of cottage cheese, and I will take these pills, L-Arginine, Fenugreek, Zinc, Horny Goatweed and all that. I will take those, with the cottage cheese. That's how I'll swallow. That's what helps me swallow the pills. So yeah, you can, as long as you're within that intermittent fasting window, you can kind of do whatever you want, kind of. Now the zinc is a funny thing. Let me describe a little bit about the zinc as far as the Hyde initiative goes. All right. And I'm actually going to be doing a full website about all this, and people can do with it what they want. So zinc, when you come, there we go. We'll just put it right out there. When a man comes, zinc gets depleted. Okay. As I understand it, this is what I've been, in my research, what I've done. So zinc, you can choose when to take that. I take a lot of this stuff early in the day, but you could take it all with a meal later at night. And zinc, what you want to do, say if you want to be a guy that's stooping twice a day, maybe on most days, right? At least. Take the zinc after you've come the first time during the day. And that way, you're built back up for coming again later. Right? So that's also part of the Hyde initiative. It's not just about making you like more hypersexual. It's also about, having you kind of at peak sexual performance. I mean, and I could go into other things about, what to do as far as sex goes. Some of the stuff I've talked about for years on Sovereign Tech. Like if you want to be able to, if you want to be able to come a gigantic load, you eat an entire bag of celery. Like, the bags of celery you get, serious, you eat the whole goddamn thing. Like an hour before you're going to get it on, before you're going to get it on, and you're going to shoot a load across the fucking room, and you're going to need a mop and bucket. And I'm half kidding. Only half kidding. Seriously, it works. Pineapple juice, which granted might not fit very well with the paleo diet, but pineapple juice for taste. Like if you want your cum to taste better, pineapple juice, again, same kind of time frame, like an hour before or whatever, rock that shit and you should be good to go. So that's the Hyde initiative, which really all of this kind of fits under that. Like even the shake, because sometimes, the Maca is getting put in, Maca is getting put in a powder form in that. The working out obviously is a part of being, let me tell you this. So as somebody that has been in group sex situations, okay, and the sex talk is kind of a bonus as far as, because really the question was just about fitness. It wasn't about the sex part, but we'll add it in because I think it's for a lot of people, it's the motivation to work out in the first place. So as somebody that's been in a lot of group sex situations, okay, which I have, I can tell you this. And if you need more motivation for getting in shape, here's a little more for you. And most people, and I mean, you can find, and I know I've read like articles about this stuff because obviously I do a show, Stephanie and I do Sex and Science Hour, which is about sex. So we read a lot of stories about sex, right? And a lot of people say the same thing, and they've put to words something that I've known for a very long time. And that is, like, say you even want to be in a group sex situation, threesome or more, full on orgy, whatever it ends up being. It's really easy. Or should I say it's a lot easier for it to happen when everybody's in shape, because that self-conscious barrier falls, is not as strong if you're somebody that's, say, not in shape. So, paying attention to this, like if you want to, like if say you wanted to start engaging in your own little Hyde initiative and all that, and maybe you're hoping you can get into group sex situations or something, believe me, fitness is a part of that. Because it just makes it so much easier. I mean, and of course also, you're more attractive, obviously, right? I mean, I've got a face for radio. Like seriously, it's terrible. So it's great. Well, anyway, being in shape, these things, can help with all that, right? So yeah, understand that if you want to get into those kinds of situations, the easiest thing, or one of the cornerstones, in my opinion, of being able to get into a group sex situation is people being in shape when they do it. You can imagine all the reasons why, but I can just say anecdotal evidence, and it's more than anecdotal because a lot of other people I've known or have read from have said it, that really makes it easier. When everybody's fit, it kind of happens. The clothes have an easier time coming off. So there you go. If you needed more motivation, if you ever want to be in an orgy, get in shape. That's one of the, I don't want to say it's easy because it's not easy to get in shape. But that's one of the keys, I think, to getting to that point easier. So anyway, there we have it. We talked about the Hyde initiative. We talked about, we went down the whole list, role playing, what music to play, a couple of the resources to use for working out. And I'm sure there's other great books out there. And even, like I said, if you just wanted to use, Arnold's The Education of a Bodybuilder, I mean, I think it's a great read. Like the first half of it is his autobiography. The second half is the kind of the workout plan, both of which are great, but it's just a great read in general. So, don't hesitate to jump on that. And then, in the show notes, I have a list of everything that I talked about here, as far as like ingredients and what I eat and all of this. And in fact, for the book recommendations, I'll put all the book recommendations if you want to buy them. I'll put the Amazon links in. The Amazon links will be for the Sex and Science Hour. So if you buy any of the books that I recommended in this episode, you'll actually give a cut. You'll help support Sex and Science Hour, and thus by default, really Sovereign Tech, because there's they're sister shows. So yeah. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this was interesting to some degree. And if you have any questions on it, maybe I'll do a follow-up. I'd love to do a full fitness series. I'd love to have Stephanie on to talk about like a women's fitness perspective, because obviously a lot of this is very male, even though some of the ideas, like I think the fantasizing, the role playing and all that, certainly women can take advantage of. Dareby.com, women can definitely take advantage of that. So there you have it. Anyway, this is just a nice little bonus. No tech here, really. But it's good to be in shape. I mean, and I definitely, when growing up, I went around with the stigma, like say, just because of being a Star Trek fan or something, you go around with the stigma that, you're going to be either fat or you're a twig or you're something like this. I'll admit, I loved being, even in high school, I loved being the nerd, the king of the nerds, frankly. And I was the king of the nerds, the really, really, and I don't mean this as like a pat on the back, just saying that I was, people called me a walking encyclopedia, which is very kind of them. Okay. I'm trying to say this with absolute humility, but I enjoyed being the walking encyclopedia, and I loved being in shape. I loved the fact, that I could bench, shy of 300. I mean, and, like really, really, like, I just enjoyed that, kind of bucking the trend and just like being, just disproving the rule. Like it was a way of breaking the rules. And even though I wasn't an anarchist, say when I was a teenager, look, the first virtue of humanity is disobedience. Okay. And so to break the rules just in that is like, oh, I'm a nerd. I'm supposed to be this, or, I'm supposed to be like this kind of body type. Fuck you. I'll be this body type. What are you going to do now? Brains and brawn, baby. And yeah, I enjoyed that. Just saying. And I'm not insulting. Look, people can choose to be, you don't have to be like the fittest you, be the best you. And that could be, honestly, if you don't want to be a fit person, fine. You don't. I'm not here to insult you by any stretch. Do what you want to do. That's the nature of hedonism. So, but there you go. I hope this was helpful. I had fun recording it. So not something I'm used to really talking about in depth, but this is my guide. This is what I do as far as working out. And these are all the tools that I use. So anyway, hope it's helpful. New Sex and Science Hour will be out this week. Don't worry. Got a dynamite new Sovereign Tech lined up, and there's a lot more Patreon bonus content coming out this week. And I also want to say quickly, somebody went to my wish list at wishlist.zog.ninja, and somebody bought me a copy of The Mana Machine. Woo! The Mana Machine. That is not a cheap book, folks. I will be doing a full review. I'll be doing a whole episode about that. Patreon at least, and then, we'll see where it goes from there, because this book is so goddamn rare, and somebody bought a copy for me, and I cannot thank you enough. I don't know if it was one of the patrons. I don't know who did it, but somebody spent a good amount of money, because this is a long, long out of print book. And thank you so much for that. Just means the world to me. And of course it means the world to me, that all of you patrons are out there and that you're supporting the show. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the content, that you get, and you're always welcome to tell me otherwise, if you're looking for something more, or what you had in mind, like when you became a patron, and I'm open to hearing that. So anyway, but I hope this little fitness special was enjoyable to you. That's enough. Woo. I'll see you on the other episodes. And of course, I'll see you on the other side.
You just experienced Sovereign Tech. Go to sovereigntech.com, that's SOVRYN tech.com, and connect with us there. Find links from today's show and catch our podcast feed. Sovereign Tech is copy heart. Copying art is an act of love, and love is not subject to law. So please share the show however you like. Welcome to the evolution.